Hello, welcome to today's lesson. Let's get into today's lesson objective. So, our lesson objective for today is we will identify the decimals of tenths and hundredths. All right, fantastic. Let's go ahead and get started with our vocabulary for today. So, our first vocabulary word is decimals. So, what are decimals? So, decimals are a number that represents an equal part of a whole in units of 10. So right over here, we have our square, and it is a whole square. And what we did is we went ahead and we cut this square into pieces. So a decimal, the important thing to remember is that decimals are not whole numbers. Decimals are pieces of a whole number. There's my dog Bug over there in the background. So decimals are not whole numbers. They are parts of a whole number. So we took our whole and we cut them into smaller pieces. All right, now let's go on to tenths. So tenths is a type of decimal, and it is one part in 10 equal parts of a whole, right? So when we have our whole right here, and this yellow strip right here is showing me, okay, I am cutting, this is 1/10 because I have 10 strips, right? I have 10 of these pieces. So I have 1/10 when I'm highlighting this yellow portion. So tenth is when we take a whole number and cut it into 10 equal pieces. All right. Now, similar to tenths, we have hundredths. So hundredths is one part of 100 equal parts of a whole. So we're taking our whole and we're cutting it into 100 equal pieces. So this yellow is showing me 1/100th because I am taking my whole square, and I'm cutting it into 100 pieces, and then I'm taking one piece, 1/100th of all the pieces. All right, fantastic. Now, let's kind of dive into our lesson by looking at this cookie. So I have a whole cookie right here. Could I break this cookie into pieces? Like, for example, if you want this cookie and I want this cookie, could I break this cookie into two pieces and give you one and I eat one? Yeah, absolutely, I can do that. I can go ahead and take this cookie and I can split it in half into two pieces, right? So now I have a piece and you have a piece. So we don't have a whole cookie, but we have a part of a whole cookie. It's very similar with decimals, but except with decimals, it's very specific about how we cut them, and we always have to cut them into portions of 10. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and look at our virtual manipulatives, and we're going to use our base 10 block, which are right here in the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and take those. All right. And I'm going to use our colorful pieces today. All right. So these are our hundreds, our tens, and then our ones. I'm going to take 100, right? And so this is 100 wholes. This is 100 whole units, right? And I'm going to go ahead and cut that into 10 equal pieces, right? So now I have 10 of these. Right? So I have 10 of those. Now, if I were to take this 10 and cut that into 10 pieces, now I have 10 ones. Right? All right, fantastic. Same thing if I were to go ahead and do the other way around. So if I were to take one and get 10 of these together, I would have 10. And then if I were to get 10 tens, I would have 100. Now, if I could take one unit, one, could I cut this into even smaller pieces? I wonder. Yeah, I absolutely can cut this into smaller pieces. Just like I could take my whole cookie and I can cut that into smaller pieces, I can cut this this ones unit into smaller pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this over here, and I'm gonna go ahead and actually take this little unit and I'm gonna make it really, really big, right? I'm actually gonna make it this big, right? So this right here is going to represent one. This is one whole. Like this is our whole cookie. Now, if I want to split this into 10 equal pieces, this would now become a tenth because this is part of my whole. This is 1/10. This is a piece of my whole cookie. All right. Now, if I were to go ahead and take this whole, let me clear this. If I were to take this whole and then I wanted to cut it into 100 pieces, this little portion right here would be 100th. It is one piece of 100 pieces. So that is what 100th is. 100th is telling me that I'm taking a whole and I am cutting it into 100 different pieces. If I were to take my cookie, I want to cut it into 100 equal pieces, and then one piece is 100th of a whole cookie. All right, fantastic. Let's go ahead and go back to our lesson. So now let's go ahead and look at our place value chart. So when we look at our place value chart, we've seen our ones places, and then we've seen our thousands, right? We have our ones, tens, hundreds, and then in our thousands, we have thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, right? We know that if I take one, I can exchange, or I'm sorry, I can take 10 ones. Let me do that right now. I can take 10 ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can take these 10 pieces and then I can get 110, right? Now, similarly, I can actually take this 1 and I can split this. I can cut this into even smaller pieces. Ooh, I just kind of drew on top of it. And we can exchange this for 10 smaller pieces. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And because I took my whole and I split it into 10 pieces, these are called tenths. So I now have 10 tenths. And so now we have gotten into our new decimals period. So in our decimals, that's telling us I don't have whole numbers anymore. I now have parts of whole numbers. So our decimals, we have our tenths and our hundredths. Now, when we look at our ones, if we go over one place value higher, we go to our tenths. So if we go to our tens. And then if we go one place value lower, what do you think we will have? That's right, we will have tenths. Fantastic. Now, if we take our ones and I go 2 place values higher, 1, 2, I have hundreds. So what do you think we will have if we go 2 place values lower? 1, 2. That's right, we will have hundredths. All right. Now, how we represent this, how we tell each other, okay, I no longer have whole pieces. I have parts of a whole piece, of a whole number, is I use a decimal to represent that I am now breaking my whole numbers into smaller portions. So our commas let us know we're getting into bigger place values, but our periods, our decimals, let us know we're getting into smaller place values, into parts of wholes. So, for example, let's go ahead and build a number together. And I'm actually going to go ahead and X my face out of here so we have more room. Let's go ahead and build the number 35.61. And let's go ahead and put our digits in their appropriate places. So I always like to find my ones place first. So I see that 35, the ones are 5. So I have 5 ones. So I'm going to go ahead and line up my ones. So I have 5 ones. Another way that we can do it is we can line up our decimals. So I have my decimal right here. Now I have 5 ones and now I have 3 tens. On my other side, I have 6 tenths and I have 100th. So the way that I would say this number would be 30 5 and when we see a decimal, we'll say and 60 1 hundredths. All right, so this will be our word form of how to write down 35 and 61 hundredths. All right, fantastic. Let's keep going. All right, let's wrap up our lesson and see what our lesson objective was for today. So, our lesson objective for today was we, I should say, identified. Should be I-E-D. Sorry, today we identified the decimals of tenths and hundredths. All right, I hope this was helpful. Make sure that you do your must do and your lesson objective, or your must do and your recall notes. And I am so excited to see you on your journey. I'll see you at the next lesson. Bye.